Hi everyone, good morning. So welcome to the new episode of Liv Sattviko Talks. We have Mr. Varun Sharma with us today. Hi Varunji, good morning. How are you?
Oh, thank you very much, Dhaval. Nice talking to you as always. Very excited to be the part of this.
Right. So viewers, I'll introduce you all to Varunji first and then we'll take the session forward. So Varunji is the founder of a niche beauty global distribution and an advisory firm based at Greater Boston called the Boston Directors, wherein they help emerging and established brands and retailers in their aspiration to become global. So after completing mechanical engineering and a course in foreign trade development, Varunji has worked in a corporate environment for more than 20 years. And then after that, he has worked with large giants such as Walmart, Planet Sports, and Body Shop kind of chains, and a couple of more as well, before getting into Boston Directors. So Varunji, I mean, after having a great experience with Walmart, Body Shop, and such large groups, what inspired you to start with Boston Directors?
Yeah, so the whole Boston Directors is basically it's just a humble effort to help assist emerging brands to establish in established economies and helping retailers and distributors in emerging economies to get distribution rights or acquiring established brands.
Mm-hmm.
The idea was to make a very productive difference in this, as they say, cash strapped business environment.
Mm-hmm.
Idea was also to give a lot of trust and approach with, as they say, sincerity in the office, in the efforts of business and brand development. So that was the idea when we started of Boston Directors as such. And of course, I now also, and I have leveraged in the past also the vast experience which I got from the giant companies where I was working, whether it was the excellent supply chain of Walmart or incredible sort of brand development by, by the Body Shop, extremely exciting Puma, iconic status of Converse. So I try to leverage on that experience and knowledge which I've gained over the years.
Right, right. And now, I mean, having said that, you have spent a long time in the US now. So, based on your experience, how do you see the changing food landscape in US and other parts of North America?
See, I would like to address this in a little different way. I would say, food landscape as per me, uh, I primarily, it's changing on three fronts. One is demographic front, the other one is consumer behavior, and due to different channels of distribution, and then the changing food habits of consumers.
Sure.
So demographic, we all know that Asian population is on rise, and it's on rise in all the developed economies, including North America, US as well. So now we have close to 6% Asians, substantial numbers of Indians as well in the United States and in North America as well. So definitely the food habits, they're changing as per them because the Indian diaspora is there, so the Asian diaspora is there, and all the organized retail chains, they're cognizant of that fact.
Right.
So they have, obviously we all know this, that all of them, they have started putting up, sort of international food section as such. And otherwise also, they have also started employing similar people for that in order to understand the nuances of the Asian consumers as well. So that's one part. The second part is, the as is happening with all the other products and all the other categories, even the food is also changing as per different channels of distribution. There's a strong play of e-commerce now.
Mm-hmm.
For a consumer to really accept a new food brand or a food product, he will immediately go to the, in e-commerce, and he'll try to find out what type of references they've got, whether these are good products or not. He will check it out at different retail outlets. What are the people saying about it? All of that. And that really impacts its consumer behavior as well. And similarly, in third, I would say is changing habits of consumers. We all know that the more and more people, they're going towards fitness. And I think more people will go to fitness, especially in post-COVID as well. So they are also, they're looking for some of those type of food products, which are more protein-based, which are more healthy. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and similarly, on the other hand, there is a fast food, and there are
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people who like fast food as well. So that has also changed the industry. So it has definitely changed, and it's evolving. We all
Right.
know that this is evolving, and this will be much more different maybe 5 years from now. And industry and the people who are employed in the industry, I think we have that responsibility that we need to move faster as the time comes, and
Mm-hmm.
also keep on placing our choices in front of the consumer very emphatically, so that they are able to either choose or either they, if we really want to make a change in the industry or want to make a difference in the industry.
So, I mean, Varunji, since you have, I mean, edge in the market for emerging and, I mean, established brands for, I mean, establishing them in the global market. So, based on that, I mean, where do you see Boston directors in next 5 years?
Okay, so I am predominantly a number guy. I understand analytics pretty fast, but I don't like to put goals in terms of numbers, because
Mhm.
then what happens is you make certain compromises uh, uh, in sort of creating a brand or creating a company, or you try to forget your ethos or the aims or the ambitions, objectives when you put the company there. So our idea is now we are we are basically trying to help the established brands to establish in emerging economies.
Mhm.
The idea there is, as we say in governance, that the fruits of governance, they should reach to the last man standing.
True.
So in this word, emerging economies are those last men standing,
Mhm.
right?
Correct.
So they all should also be able to really choose those products which are accessible to their brethren in developed economies.
Right.
So that's one part of the business which we want to address. The other is now, these emerging brands, they're terrific emerging brands, and they have really worked hard to really reach. So we all know this. Now, emerging brand has to work twice or thrice hard when
Mhm.
they are competing with the established brand.
Right.
A, because they have to create their brand in the psyche of a retail buyer or otherwise in consumer mind. So they really work very hard, and they don't have an access to the established economies.
Right.
It could either be demographically, it could either be now US emerging brands definitely have some access to
Mhm.
these markets because they are very
Mhm.
much here. But what about the Indian brands? What about the
Mhm.
Bangladeshi brands? What about the Sri Lankan brands? What about the
Mhm.
African brands? Does that mean that there are some very exciting brands there? They have done a
True.
great job in their native countries, but they need to expand to these established economies. So our
Right.
endeavor is to really help them
Mhm.
as much as we can and reach them to these global markets to make an impact there. And they are original. Lot of them, they are bringing something which is not in the market at this time.
True. That's right.
So that is, so we act as a medium, we act as someone who can support them or help them or handhold them for the
Mhm.
initial 4 or 5 years so that they really understand where we are coming from. And then, of course, we take up another brand. So that is how we
Right.
basically work and try to help different brands in this scenario.
Right. So, I mean, since you have worked with large brands across your, I mean, experience with corporates, so based on that, if you can give two top tips, maybe to the Indian brands who wish to compete with the large brands in the international market.
Okay, so see, brand building fundamentals, they're nearly same everywhere,
Mhm.
right? So what are those fundamentals? One should have knowledge of the competition.
Mhm.
One should know what problem they are solving.
True. Well said.
right? So, and and they should know what problem they are solving or one is addressing and communicate it effectively to the consumer. That's also very
All right.
important. And
Mhm.
you need to have your own unique selling proposition. One should align as much as you can to the sustainability goals for the region, for the world, for the earth, as much as they can, right?
Mhm.
And important for Indian brands, I would say is, and that I have, spoken to a lot of people earlier as well, is that Indian diaspora is not the only customer they need to address.
True.
They
True.
need to address the global diaspora.
True.
So most of the Indian brands, they try to address the Indian diaspora when they come to either US or North American market, but they need to address the US consumer as a whole.
Mhm.
So Indian diaspora could be just 1 or 2%, right? So
Mhm.
then they are not addressing the real problems which are still there, and they're not trying to, give or propose a solution to the US consumer or North American consumer. So that's a very important point, which I feel the Indian brands, they should think about it.
Okay. Okay. Great. My next question is a bit personal one, and it is around fitness. I know, I mean, you are a
Oh,
fitness enthusiast, and I mean, how does fitness help you in your, I mean, daily routine, and what suggestions would you like to give various entrepreneurs who, I mean, fight stress and anxiety during the entrepreneurship journey?
yeah, that's very important. When you are in a startup, there are two or three things which are certain to happen. You are going to struggle, you are going to grind, and you are going to be stopped by the established players to be successful.
True.
These are all of those choices. These are all of those byproducts which will come once you choose to be a startup, right?
Sure.
And you will, and another thing which is very important is you will have lots of failures compared to successes. Your
Mhm.
successes will be less and your failures will be much more. So
Correct.
it's very important that you should basically try to, what happens in the case of fitness is once you get into sort of fitness regime, you're trying to improve yourself every day.
Correct.
You're
Correct.
trying to get better. So that is
Right.
one thing which you can be successful.
Right.
Unlike in the case of, you're calling 15 people, out of which two are replying, and then two are also not replying. They're taking 1 year to reply, or, something of that sort. That happens to all these startups, right?
Right.
So there you can, in fitness regime, you can actually win nearly every day.
Mhm.
And so that's one part. The second part is scientifically, you create more adrenaline and you get more excited in life. All of that happens, and you will see your energy levels going up. You're ready to fight it out. There is a zeal to achieve and to be successful. But most importantly, I feel it is a sort of uh, it's this is a total journey. When you make a startup, it's a journey, and you need to learn and you need to improve constantly. And
Right.
for that, it's very important to have your body fit and your mind fit to take up those challenges. And fitness regime, it really plays a very important part in it.
Right. Right. So, I mean, in your corporate working, I mean, you have traveled a lot and worked across, I mean, a lot of geographies. So, I mean, based on that, what advice would you like to give, let's say, Indian brands who wish to now uh, think of entering into some international market? I mean, what point should they consider in taking that first step?
I think one is they should choose their countries well.
Mhm.
That's very important. And invest your energies, uh, resources in those countries where they can make a splash. It does not mean they need to get an early success
Hmm.
in sort of a mediocre country.
Right.
What it means is you need to be ready to have a business plan for 4 or 5 years before you are entering into market.
Right.
And the first year should be purely given to
Hmm.
your efforts which you are going to make. It's
Right.
very important for us in India to understand that these markets, these are all global markets, they're open markets. You can go there and you can establish your brand and product. If you have been successful, India is an extremely challenging market. If you have been successful in India, you would be also successful in these global markets if you make all the right moves, you have zeal to really improve and be trustworthy to a consumer. Trust
Right.
is extremely important in these markets.
Sure. Sure.
So whatsoever you write in your ingredients, they should be true to it, because people are going to test you.
True.
Many of the retailers, the aspirational retailers like Whole Foods and all of them, they're obviously going to see whether all the ingredients you have put in, what you are claiming, they're correct or not, because they have a
Right.
responsibility towards the consumer as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Similarly for you, it is not about number of products or the type of turnover you are going to achieve in the first year. It's about how much trust you are going to gain in next first couple of years or 3 years, and that is it. If you are able to really do that, then of course there are no heights you can't scale. It would be extremely exciting. So gain trust in the market, be there for long term, uh, settle your supply chain and logistics so that it's not a hindrance for a retailer,
True.
and be very, very truthful, clear, and absolutely transparent for the retailer, because he has the responsibility towards the consumer. Don't fail it.
Right. Right.
So
And I
something of
mean, that is something which will help a brand to grow long term. I mean, that's the trust
absolutely,
long term, right?
yeah. Not only long term, it also helps the country to grow long term.
Right. True.
So any Indian brand going down will bring the confidence of a consumer in Indian brands down. And any Indian brand really coming up and shining like a star in different, retail outlets, it will give a lot of confidence,
Right.
right? But most importantly, they should, when they're targeting the market like United States, as we say in business, losing an opportunity is actually a loss. Don't target only Indian diaspora. If you're
Right.
targeting Indian diaspora, you are not able to understand the United States or North American market, because Indian diaspora is only 1 or 2%.
Right. True. That's right.
Try to target the bigger market, make an impression in some of the bigger. So, a lot of people, they will run you down. The established brands or the established even industry giants, they will run you down. They'll say they will not accept this. They will
Right.
not accept this. We need to be mindful of this, that every startup has been created on the pillar that no one actually tried that.
Well said. That's right.
So we should try that, and then we see whether that's a failure or a success as such. Otherwise, we
Right.
would not have created Coke. There was no need of creating Coke, right?
Right.
There was no need of creating Pepsis and all of those type of drinks.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Great. So, coming to my last question for the session. So, I mean, we all have been shopping now extensively on the e-commerce platforms now since, I mean, more of in the last 1.5 years or so. So, how do you see the scope of increasing e-commerce in the food space specifically?
So I think, this question would have been, if you would have been asking pre-COVID, I would have said, you need to do this, 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 this. But, after COVID, more or less, this has already been answered in the real sense that the e-commerce giants and nearly all the retailers, they are now present in e-commerce, and they're present in full strength and in full style.
Right.
They have really invested their energies into e-commerce as a portal. So I think now the problem is already solved. You need to be present with these retailers. Most of the times, these retailers, they will say, we don't have, many of these retailers, they will say, we don't have much space in our offline retail outlets. So why don't we start with e-commerce? And that's a great point
Yeah,
to
yeah,
start.
absolutely.
E-commerce gives you a lot of visibility. E-commerce is sort of fast gainer for, I would say, you can make some early gains if you're a new and, sort of niche brand. So I think this is already answered by the in the post-COVID situation as such. Retail outlets.
Lovely. So I think Varunji, I mean, the kind of responses which you have given, I mean, extremely insightful. And I'm sure these would be really helpful for the emerging brands who not only who want to get into the United States only, but across geographies. I mean, that would be extremely helpful. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And thank you very much, Dhaval. It's nice to make a difference if I can.
Sure.
And really looking forward to see Sattviko making splash at different places, because India needs to make splash now. It's very
Right.
important.
Yeah. Great. So thank you so much for your time, sir. And looking forward to staying connected.
For sure.